everyone, welcome to Pai's Kitchen. Today I am finally making butter chicken, the quintessential Indian dish that everybody loves. Now for a long time I was hesitant to try this dish because in my head somehow I felt like it was going to be a complicated dish, but when I tried it, it really wasn't a big deal. I mean, it's a long list of ingredients, but the process was really straightforward and it's a really forgiving dish as well. So let's get started. There are two parts to this recipe, the chicken and the sauce. That's it, super simple. So I am using chicken thighs because I love the flavorfulness and the juiciness of chicken thighs. But if you're a breast kind of person, you can do chicken breast as well. And I just cut them into big chunks. So each thigh, I cut them into 3 pieces. Now, let's marinate these thighs. So I am making first a paste out of ginger and garlic right here, okay? You can grate it with a microplane if you like, but I like my mortar and pestle. All right, so now it's a fine paste. I'm gonna scrape this into my chicken. To this, I'm gonna add some yogurt, some full-fat yogurt, none of that non-fat, zero-fat stuff, okay? You want nice and rich yogurt for this. This is going to keep the chicken moist, tender, and adds a slight tang. And now the spices. This is what makes Indian food seem complicated. It's just a long list of spices, but it's really just gathering ingredients. Nothing complicated at all, okay? So I've got here some salt, some garam masala. Now you can buy garam masala, or if you want to make your own, I have my own recipe I will include in the written portion. Ground coriander, some turmeric powder. I'm using paprika. That's just for color. Paprika is very mild. I'm using smoked paprika as well. You can use regular, but I like that smokiness. And this is cayenne pepper, or you can use any kind of spicy chili powder. This is just for heat. If you do not want spicy at all, you can just use paprika, or Indians would use kashmiri chili powder. That's sort of the traditional type, but I think paprika works just fine. Give that a good mix, and that's your chicken. Now, I like to give this at least a solid half an hour, but you can definitely do this 1 day in advance. That's what I usually do. That looks so good. It smells so good. So the chicken is well marinated, and this was one of the things that I misunderstood about butter chicken is the chicken isn't cooked in the curry sauce. It is cooked separately and then put in the curry sauce. Now you can just saute it, but I'm gonna put it under the grill, or the broiler I should say, so I can get some charred bits, add a little bit of a grilled flavor to it. So I've got a rack here on top of a roasting pan, and I put just a touch of water in the bottom because the chicken juices will drip, and I wanna save all that juices as part of my sauce, and the water is just there to make sure it doesn't burn while the chicken is grilling, okay? Just a little bit, you don't want too much water. And I'm trying to keep the chicken in the center because with this broiler, it's not very even. So if there's pieces on the edges, it tends to not get as much love. So this is now gonna go under the broiler on high, about 4 to 5 inches away from the element. And once one side gets nice and charred, flip and do the same on the other side. Don't worry about whether the chicken's cooked on the inside because it's gonna cook again in the sauce, okay? There you go. So that chicken right there is on its own delicious. You can stop right here and have a good meal. But one thing I wanted to point out too, that if you notice halfway through that your water at the bottom is drying out and the chicken juices is starting to dry, just add a splash more because you want to collect as much of that chicken juiciness as you can. Let's make the sauce. So the base of butter chicken sauce is actually tomatoes. So I've got here some diced tomatoes, just canned diced tomatoes. Ooh. I'm using unsalted. You can use salted, just make sure you adjust the salt proportion. You don't have to use diced, you can use crushed, whole, whatever. We're blending it all up anyway, so. And then I'm also gonna add some herbs. I've got some onions, some ginger, and some garlic, which are like the base of so many Indian dishes. So that's all going in. Give it a blitz. All right, it's nice and smooth. Some people strain it to get it super smooth. I can't be bothered. This is good enough for me. Okay, so let's get the rest of the sauce going. I'm gonna start out with some butter. Yes, surprise. Let that melt. Now while that's melting, let's talk about the spices really quickly. So I've got here some of the same spices that we used in the chicken, some garam masala, some paprika or Kashmiri chili powder. So this is for color, and then some cayenne pepper for heat, completely optional. So these are like your basic, and then from that point on, you can play with your spice mix a little bit. So I'm adding a little bit of cloves and cardamom, All right, so once the butter is melted, I'm gonna add all my spices. Oops. And then I'm gonna let the spices basically toast in this butter and infuse its flavors and aroma, but you gotta be quick and your heat must not be too high because powdered spices burn very quickly. So I'm just gonna give it about 10 seconds to do its magic. Oh, I can smell it. And then right away in with the sauce. Woo! All that good stuff has got to come out. And now I'm gonna let this reduce and cook and concentrate. You wanna get rid of all the water so we can replace it with, that's right, whipping cream and make it extra luxurious. Ta-da! There you go. That's exactly what you're looking for. You want it nice and thick, and you can almost see the butter just seeping away from the tomatoes a little bit. Simmering tomato sauce splatters like crazy. So if you've got one of these, put it on, or I've also used like a sieve, a metal sieve, just sitting right on top of there as well. It'll help your cleanup, as you can see. Okay, the whipping cream. This is what makes butter chicken so luscious and creamy and delicious. Now it's starting to have that color that we all associate with butter chicken, this beautiful orange. I'm gonna season this with some salt, of course. Some brown sugar, you can just do, come on now. You can just do white sugar if you like. So the next thing I'm gonna add is an herb that always shows up in butter chicken. It's something called kasuri methi or fenugreek leaves that's been dried and crushed. Now it's got a flavor that to me reminds me of a combination of celery and like aged cheese. It's a very savory, satisfying, robust note. If you don't have it though, it's like, don't panic. It's not gonna break the dish. I've made butter chicken without it before. It's still delicious. But if you've got an Indian grocery store nearby, that is where you will find this, okay? So I'm just gonna add a little bit. If you add too much, it can have a bitter note at the end. So be really careful with it. I'll save this for a sprinkling at the end. A little goes a long way. Now, that chicken is gonna go in along with all of its delicious juices which we collected. Try not to splatter curry sauce on yourself. Oh yes. The chicken will need about 7 minutes to 10 minutes to heat through. Now I'm just gonna add a splash of water. I feel like it's a little bit thick right now. Also, if you can make it, let it sit overnight, and then it will have time to sort of mingle and marry with the sauce, and tomorrow it'll be even better. Alrighty, that is done. And the most important thing is to give it a taste. You may need to add some lemon juice. And I say may because that depends on the acidity of your tomatoes. You just never know, right? So good. So good, but it does need both salt and lemon. You can do lime juice at this point if that's all you have. Just a little bit. A little bit of salt. And see, because we grilled the chicken, you can see the bits of the charred chicken, giving it extra character. Right now, this has just a little bit of heat. But because sometimes you serve a lot of people, some people like it spicy, some people don't. What I like to do is I just add some sliced green chilies, and I don't let it cook in here so that it doesn't have that much time to infuse. But if somebody at the table likes it spicy, then they can actually eat a piece of that. In Thai, we have a word for it too. We call it luk dot, which means when you add like whole little chilies so people can eat it. It looks pretty too. Just the way that sauce like sits on that plate, you know it's gonna be rich. Maybe not quite the way that just splashed. I'm just gonna finish the garnishing with a little extra fenugreek leaves. A few green chilies just so people know. It's a visual warning. And a little drizzle of whipping cream from a tiny little pitcher that doesn't pour well at all. There we go. Ta-da! And that is it. I like mine with rice. You can have this with naan, obviously, or both. Yeah. Extra sauce. There we go. That is what I am talking about. Tender, succulent chicken. And that sauce is creamy and tomatoey and tangy and with a hint of spices. But the spices are really not that overpowering. I think that's a wonderful thing about butter chicken, is it's so well balanced between, you know, the complex aromas and the creamy comfortingness of the tomato sauce. So good, just a little bit of kick, just enough spice to give it some character. Wow, that is a dish that I will make again and again and again now that I know it's not as complicated as it seems. So the recipe, as always, will be on pieskitchen.com. When you make it, send me a photo on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. I am also on Pinterest if you are pinners. And if you haven't subscribed to the show, make sure you do so you don't miss a recipe. And when you do, click that little bell icon so you get a notification when I post a new video. If you love the show and you want to support us, check out our Patreon link in the description below. And I will see you next time for your next delicious adventure. Just a little bit. And a little bit of salt.